Welcome to our deep dive, into the crypto world, specifically the story of Sam Bankman-Fried, SBF, as he's often called, and the just crazy crash of his crypto exchange FTX. It's wild.
Yeah, it's a story that reads like a financial thriller,
hmm
you know? Ambition, deception, and the allure of those crypto riches everyone was chasing.
So we've got articles, court documents, even interviews with SBF himself for this one. And the goal is to really unpack how this seemingly brilliant young man built a multi-billion-dollar empire only to see it crumble so quickly.
What's remarkable is how quickly SBF went from this visionary philanthropist to facing serious allegations of fraud. It's a story that really reveals a lot about the crypto boom and the culture of risk-taking in this world.
Okay, so let's set the stage. It's 2020, 2021, and the crypto world is on fire. Everyone's talking about Bitcoin, Ethereum, NFTs. It felt like the gold rush of the digital age. Remember those Super Bowl commercials in 2022?
Oh, yeah.
Even Larry David, Mr. Curb Your Enthusiasm himself, was in an FTX ad warning people not to miss out on crypto. The irony is almost painful now.
It really captures the hype and FOMO that was driving the market at the time. But to understand how FTX fit into all of this, we need to explain the role of crypto exchanges. Think of them as the gateways for everyday people to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrencies.
Yep.
Binance, Coinbase, FTX, they were handling billions of dollars in transactions.
But unlike traditional financial institutions, they were operating with far less oversight, right?
Exactly. And that's where SBF enters the picture. Now, SBF was a fascinating character. Unlike your typical Wall Street hotshot, he cultivated this image of a disheveled, unassuming genius,
Interesting.
sleeping on beanbags in the office, playing video games during investor meetings. It was all part of this carefully constructed persona.
And it worked. People were drawn to his unconventional style and his claims of, doing good. The guy was a physics whiz from MIT who made a fortune exploiting these arbitrage opportunities in the early days of Bitcoin.
That's how he co-founded Alameda Research, a crypto trading firm with Taro Macaulay. They saw this price difference for Bitcoin between U.S. and Japanese exchanges and figured out how to profit from it.
Smart.
This wasn't your typical buy low, sell high scenario. They were navigating these complex international regulations, moving money across borders. It was high stakes, high reward.
But even back then, there were hints that maybe SBF wasn't the good guy he projected himself to be. Our sources mentioned something called the April fiasco at Alameda. What happened there?
It was an incident that was kept quiet for a long time, but it kind of foreshadowed some of the issues that would eventually bring down FTX. So essentially, employees at Alameda started expressing concerns about SBF's trading decisions and management style.
Oh, really?
They saw him as reckless, willing to take huge gambles, and possibly cutting corners to get where he wanted to be.
So there were red flags early on. It makes you wonder why no one seemed to take those warnings seriously.
Right, like why did the effective altruism community and the venture capitalists pouring money into Alameda not see these warning signs?
Yeah, it seems like SBF was incredibly good at telling people what they wanted to hear, whether it was investors or idealists.
Yeah, and that ability to project this image of trustworthiness was key to his success, both at Alameda and later when he launched FTX.
Okay, so let's talk about FTX. SBF launches this crypto exchange in 2019, and it quickly becomes a major player. He's got Tom Brady and Gisele Bündchen endorsing FTX. The Miami Heat Arena is renamed the FTX Arena. They're sponsoring everything.
It was a marketing blitz unlike anything the crypto world had seen before. But beneath the surface, FTX was built on a very shaky foundation. And at the heart of that instability was their own token,
Dude,
FTT.
TX had its own token. I thought they were just an exchange where you could trade, Bitcoin and other
They
cryptocurrency.
were, but they also created their own token, FTT, which was deeply intertwined with the entire FTX ecosystem. And that's where the lines between SBF's two ventures, FTX and Alameda, started to get blurry.
Okay, so how did FTT factor into FTX's rise and ultimately its downfall? What did they even use this token for?
That's where we start to see the first cracks in SBF's facade. FTX promoted FTT as a way to access discounts and other perks on their platform. But behind the scenes, Alameda SBF's trading firm was holding a massive amount of FTT, using it as collateral for loans and to artificially inflate the company's value.
So it was like a house of cards built on a foundation of digital tokens.
Exactly. And as FTX's success grew, so did the concerns about transparency and oversight. Key executives began to resign, signaling trouble brewing beneath the surface.
Oh.
And that's when a bombshell report from CoinDesk exposed the precarious situation FTX was really in. They obtained Alameda's balance sheet, which revealed that a significant portion of their assets was FTT.
Wow.
It was like finding out that the bank holding your life savings is actually backed by its own monopoly money.
That's a great analogy. And that CoinDesk report set off a chain reaction that would ultimately lead to FTX's implosion. But to understand how things unraveled so quickly, we need to take a closer look at the role played by CZ, the CEO of Binance FTX's biggest rival. He was initially an investor in FTX, right? So what happened? Did their bromance implode?
It was more like a public execution on Twitter. After the CoinDesk article dropped, CZ announced that Binance would be selling off all of his FTT holdings.
Hold on. The head of the biggest crypto exchange publicly announced he was dumping a competitor's token. That's like pouring gasoline on a fire.
Exactly. And that's where things went from bad to worse for SBF and FTX. So CZ's tweet announcing that Binance was dumping all its FTT basically set off a panic in the crypto market. Everyone saw it as a vote of no confidence.
It's like if Warren Buffett suddenly announced he was selling all his Apple stock, people would freak out.
Exactly. And remember that shaky foundation we talked about, the dependence on FTT. Well, as soon as CZ made that announcement, the price of FTT started to plummet, and people rushed to withdraw their funds from FTX.
It was a digital bank run.
Exactly. And because FTX had allegedly been mismanaging customer funds, loaning them out to Alameda for risky bets, they didn't have the liquidity to meet all those withdrawal requests.
So FTX is on the verge of collapse. What does SBF do?
He initially tries to project confidence, tweeting that FTX is fine, they have enough to cover all deposits. But behind the scenes, he's frantically searching for a lifeline. And that's where CZ comes back into the picture.
Wait, so the guy who just triggered a bank run on FTX is now their potential savior?
I know, right? That's crazy.
Hmm.
CZ tweets that FTX has asked for his help and that Binance is considering a bailout.
So it seems like FTX might actually survive.
Yeah, for a brief moment it does, but then, almost immediately after CZ's announcement, bombshell reports from Bloomberg and the Wall Street Journal reveal that the SEC and CFTC have been investigating FTX for months. They're looking into allegations that FTX mishandled customer funds, potentially engaging in fraud.
So this went from a liquidity crisis to a potential criminal investigation in a matter of hours.
That's the speed at which things move in the crypto world. And as soon as those allegations surfaced, CZ pulled out of the bailout deal.
Ouch.
He wasn't about to get entangled in a regulatory nightmare, especially with Binance's own history of legal troubles.
So what happened next?
Within days, FTX filed for bankruptcy. A company once valued at $32 billion reduced to virtually nothing,
It was a stunning collapse.
one of the most dramatic in financial history.
What was SBF's response to all of this?
He did something even more baffling. He starts this bizarre tweet thread, just one word, "What?" followed by a series of seemingly random letters that eventually spelled out, "Happened."
He's tweeting cryptic messages while his empire crumbles.
It was truly bizarre. And then to make things even stranger, SBF embarks on a media tour. He's giving interviews to the New York Times, Good Morning America, admitting to mistakes but denying any intentional wrongdoing.
Wait, he's doing a media bliss while facing accusations of fraud?
It was a perplexing strategy, to say the least. In these interviews, he claimed he was vaguely aware of how customer funds were being used but didn't know the specifics.
Vaguely aware. He was the CEO.
His explanations didn't really hold up to scrutiny. Meanwhile, the bankruptcy filings started to reveal the true extent of the chaos at FTX.
This is where John Ray III, the guy who oversaw the Enron bankruptcy, enters the scene, right?
Yes. John Ray, a seasoned expert in corporate collapses, was brought in to lead the FTX bankruptcy proceedings. And his initial assessment was chilling. He said he'd never seen such a complete failure of corporate controls and such a complete absence of trustworthy financial information as he did at FTX.
So what did those bankruptcy filings actually reveal?
They painted a picture of a company operating with shocking recklessness. No proper accounting system, use of auto-deleting messaging apps, special treatment for Alameda. It was a financial free-for-all.
So basically a complete lack of accountability and transparency, the very things SBF claimed to champion.
It seems those were just words. The filings alleged that FTX was taking customer deposits and loaning them to Alameda for risky investments, real estate purchases, even political donations.
Wait, customer money was used for political donations?
It gets worse. When the crypto market crashed in 2022, Alameda couldn't pay back those loans. So according to the filings, SBF directed billions more of customer funds to Alameda in a desperate attempt to cover the losses.
So it sounds like textbook fraud. What were the legal repercussions?
In December 2022, SBF was arrested in the Bahamas at the request of the United States. Both the SEC and CFTC filed complaints accusing him of orchestrating a massive years-long fraud.
So the savior of crypto became its biggest villain. What about his associates at Alameda, Caroline Ellison and Gary Wang?
They both pled guilty to charges related to the FTX collapse and agreed to cooperate with the investigation. It was a stunning betrayal of SBF, and it further solidified the narrative that he was the mastermind behind this whole scheme.
It's a Shakespearean tragedy playing out in the Wild West of the crypto world. But amidst all the financial jargon and legal battles, it's important to remember the real victims here.
You're right, it's easy to get lost in the numbers. But those billions of dollars represent people's savings, dreams, and livelihoods. Countless individuals lost their money because they trusted SBS and his promises.
It's a stark reminder that the crypto world, for all its promises of decentralization and disruption, is still susceptible to the same human failings that plague traditional finance: greed, deception, and lack of accountability.
Absolutely. But there's another layer to this story that we haven't explored yet, the role of Binance and its enigmatic CEO, CZ. He played a key part in FTX's downfall. But is he really the good guy here?
Right. He triggered the bank run that ultimately brought FTX down, but then also tried to bail them out. It's hard to tell what his true motivations were.
And that's what makes this story even more fascinating, because after FTX imploded, the spotlight turned to Binance, and people started asking, could this happen again? Is Binance any different?
Mm-hmm.
So Binance was the undisputed king of the crypto world. But with all the scrutiny on how FTX operated, people started to look at Binance and wonder, are they any different? Are they truly transparent, or were they just better at hiding their flaws?
And they've had their own issues with regulators, right?
Oh, yeah. They've faced warnings and even bans from regulators in multiple countries.
Mm-hmm.
The UK, Japan, Singapore. They've been accused of facilitating money laundering and operating in a very opaque way.
So they've been kind of pushing the boundaries of what's acceptable. It makes you wonder if those concerns about FTX's lack of transparency were just the tip of the iceberg for the entire crypto industry.
That's what a lot of people were asking. And the similarities between FTX and Binance, especially when it came to their own tokens, really raised some red flags.
Okay, so how is Binance's token BNB similar to FTX's FTT?
Well, both exchanges created their own tokens, and both of those tokens played a pretty big role in their respective ecosystems. Just like Alameda held a large amount of FTT, CZ and his associates are believed to hold a significant amount of BNB.
So there's that same potential for conflict of interest, where the exchange is propping up its own token to inflate its value.
Exactly. And after the FTX collapse, everyone was looking at Binance and asking, are they doing the same thing? Are the reserves truly backed, or is this another house of cards waiting to fall?
Did Binance address these concerns? Did they provide any proof that they were operating differently from FTX?
They tried to. After FTX filed for bankruptcy, Binance released what they called a proof of reserves audit, conducted by a third party. It was supposed to show that all customer assets on Binance were fully backed and accounted for.
Sounds reassuring.
But shortly after it was released, the firm that conducted the audit took the report down.
What?
Yeah, they cited concerns about how the public was interpreting it and said that this type of audit has limitations when it comes to providing real assurance to customers.
So the auditors backed out. That's not a good look. What did Binance have to say about that?
They haven't really provided a clear explanation. And to this day, CZ has been evasive about Binance's headquarters and the full extent of its operations. It's a lack of transparency that makes a lot of people uneasy, especially after what happened with FTX.
So the same issues that brought down FTX are still very much present in the crypto world, even with the biggest players like Binance.
Yeah, that's the unsettling truth that this whole FTX saga revealed. And it's why regulators around the world are now scrambling to catch up, trying to impose rules on a decentralized and often opaque industry.
It's a clash between innovation and oversight, isn't it? Crypto was supposed to be this revolutionary force in finance, but it's also created opportunities for bad actors to exploit the system.
It has. And the question now is, what will the future of crypto look like? Will it become more mainstream and trusted? Or will it remain this volatile and shadowy realm?
So what should our listener be thinking about after diving into this whole FTX saga?
I think the biggest lesson here is the importance of skepticism. Don't just blindly follow the hype, especially when it comes to get-rich-quick schemes. Do your own research and understand the risks involved.
It's a cautionary tale about the allure of these charismatic leaders and the dangers of unchecked power. SBF was so good at telling people what they wanted to hear.
And that's a reminder that we need to be critical thinkers, not just in the crypto world, but in all aspects of our lives. Don't be swayed by smooth talk. Look beyond the surface and demand transparency.
Great point. It leaves us with one final question. Could this happen again?
That's the question, isn't it? The answer really depends on whether we learn from the mistakes of the past. Will we demand more transparency and accountability? Will we prioritize ethics over quick profits?
Will we be able to strike the right balance between fostering innovation and protecting people?
The FTX story is a stark reminder that the stakes are high. It's a wake-up call for the entire crypto industry.
Well said. That's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us as we explore the rise and fall of SBF and FTX and the broader implications for the future of crypto. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay skeptical.